Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to our London Marathon and Manchester Marathon training series. This week we've got a Q&A, we've got loads of marathon training related questions from the guys in the Fordy Runs running community. We've got a bit of a 2020 goals, and yeah, just a bit of a catch up. So let's get stuck in. Hey, what's up guys? So first off this week is my 2020 goals, which I filmed while I was out doing my long run. So let's get stuck in. So 2020 goals, number one, it's the same every year, is to have fun. If you ain't having fun, what's the point? Right, number two on the list is the sub 4 marathon. If you're new to the channel, I'm training for London and Manchester next year. And Manchester we're going for sub 4. So that's number two on my 2020 goals. Right guys, number three is the half marathon. My PB is about 1:44, which I achieved while filming and mucking about as usual. So Billy actually said to me, next year or this year, why don't I try and crack that and see if we can get that down nearer 1:40. So what I think I'll do at Silverstone, where we ran a fast time last year, we're going to go for it. He's going to go for sub 1:45. And I think I'll try and kick on near 1:40. I won't film. So number three, beat my half marathon PB. Right, number four, and this is my park run challenge. Now I've never really paid any interest to my park run PB, basically because I do it for fun. But I think this year I may have a go at getting it down. I think my park run PB is something like 21 something, so no interest so far. But I think this year that's a good little challenge in the summer after marathon training and the triathlon and all that. I'll have a crack at that. Right guys, so my final goal for 2020 is to do a triathlon. Now I've got provisionally booked the Blenheim tri, which I did last year as a relay. If you've not seen the video, check it out, which is a good way to get a bit of a taster. But this year I'm going to try and do a full one. We'll give it a go. I am terrible at swimming. I am rubbish on a bike. But like anything, I think if you apply yourself, train, you can do whatever you want. Right guys, so they're my 2020 goals. Some of them ambitious and some of them like stupid. Right, next up in this week's episode is the Q&A. So I asked the guys in the Fordy Runs running community whether they got any questions about my training, whether they got any marathon training questions in general. There was loads, so we definitely need to do this again later on in the series. But I tried to get to as many as I could. Thanks to everybody who did ask questions. Apologies if I don't answer it. As I say, we had so many, it was mental. But I got to as many as I can. So here's your Q&A. Right guys, so I'm here at the David Weir Leisure Centre in Surrey. I'm here for a coaching course this weekend. It's lunchtime, I've got 10 minutes. So I thought we'd drill into some of the questions from the guys in the Fordy Runs running community were asking about marathon training. So I've got them here. We're going to bat on and see if we can get some of these done. So firstly from Karen, how important is it to run at marathon pace in training? From my own experience, I run a fair amount of my long runs towards the end of my training block at marathon pace, but not the whole of it. What I tend to do, once I've got up to the mileage that I want to get up to, so like, I'll give you an example. When I get to 25 kilometers, I then start running at marathon pace, and the reason I do that is because I want to run on my tired legs to give them
some feel, to give my senses some memory on how it's going to be like running on tired legs towards the end of the marathon. So from up to 25 kilometers, I'm usually well within myself, whether I'm running on heart rate or whether I'm running on a certain pace. But when I get to 25 kilometers and on, I then start putting in marathon pace. Now, marathon pace for me is around 5:38, because I'm going for a sub 4 at Manchester. So when I get to 25 kilometers, I pick up marathon pace, and that's important to me. I would recommend you do it. It's hard to know what your marathon pace is. If you've got a time in mind, then it's pretty easy to work out. But if you're just going out there for your first marathon, it's harder to find that marathon pace. But yeah, so I do it. I do recommend it. I would say to try it for you guys who may be searching for a time. But yeah, that's how I do it. Next question from Caroline. How do you get over a bad run, especially a long run that you've looked forward to all week? Well, you know what? I tend to have worse runs in the midweek runs, if that makes any sense. I really struggle with marathon training with the shorter runs. They end up being the worst runs. But your question is, yeah, I suppose actually is a bad run. So yeah, I mean, it depends how you categorise a bad run. Is it because you haven't achieved your time? Is it because you feel terrible? Is it because it's not gone to plan? Whatever it is, I don't even think about it. I get it done. And you'll see, if you follow me on Instagram, I regularly post up, that was hard, that was this, that was this. But I always try and finish with a smile. Whatever happens, I've always try and pick something out of it that I can learn to take to my next one. But to be perfectly honest with you, I forget about it. Because I'm so focused on my training plan and what's next, I kind of forget it straight away. And that's probably the biggest tip. Right, next question from James. How do you know when to build in recovery, less mileage weeks, or can you keep increasing the mileage weekly long run in a 12 to 16 week schedule? Okay, so with regards to, I think this is where we're going. How do you build in recovery weeks into your training plan and when to put them in, or do you need them at all? I personally recommend them. From the experience I've got, I've found that I get a lot more out of them when I have down weeks. I kind of hit the reset button. I maintain the amount of times I'm running, but I reduce the mileage and I reduce the intensity. That tends to work for me, and I actually build them around races. So when I do my plan, I have race day and I have the start, and then I put in the races that I want to do during that, because I think it's good to get some race experience. And those like race day, so let's say the big half, which is a half marathon, I'll make sure that week is a down week. And I'll factor that into my mileage. That's how I do it. It works for me. It might not necessarily work for everybody. Do you need to do them? No. Do they work? Yes. If you've got somebody who's actually tailoring a plan to you, ask them about it, and I say seek professional advice from somebody who's doing your plans. Hopefully, if you're getting a plan from somebody that, you know, they're qualified and they can tailor that to your needs. If you're picking one off the internet and you're tailoring it to yourself, then try and put one in. But I would focus it around an event, whether it be a 10K, so use that as a down week. And I say just scale down your intensity and your mileage, but try and keep up the consistency. Stephen Green, what's your advice when it comes to tapering? We'll get on to tapering later on in this series, but just quickly, tapering is a funny thing. I've found over the years that I've now come to this 2.5 week taper that works for me. Some people say 4, some people say 2. It's a kind of thing that you kind of learn as you go on and go through it. If you've been doing half marathons, you may have picked up a little bit of experience with regards to tapering. I usually just drop down the mileage and on the long run. I usually keep up my midweek runs, and then I just drop down the mileage on my long runs. But I say we'll get into tapering later on in the series. Right, next question from Laura Burton. Tempo, fartleks, etc. Are they really needed, or can I just go running? Well, yeah, you can just go running. These sort of speed sessions and these sort of different terminologies you hear are great if you're trying to build up strength, to stamina, obviously to get faster, to get fitter, to get healthier. If you've got times in mind, if you've got events in mind and all that kind of stuff, then those sessions, which have got all these funny names, will help you. Yeah, they will help you. But if you're just running because it's great for your mind, because it's something you want to do, whether you want to get fit, it's your, you know, half hour away from the kids, then no, you don't need to do that. If you're looking to, let's say, to challenge yourself, to pick a time, to get faster, all this sort of stuff, then yeah, those things are good. Right, Ian Wilkinson, hello mate, this is a great idea. I'd like to ask, what are the key differences between training for half marathons and full marathons? To be perfectly honest with you, anybody, I believe, who can do a half marathon can do a full marathon. All you're then doing is training your mind, and you're doing more time on your feet. If you can do a half marathon, you can definitely do a marathon, because all you've got to do really is increase your long run over that 16-17 week plan, and train your mind. That's the biggest hurdle out there. Physically, you can definitely do it. 100% physically, you can do it. It's more the mental side of things. And as I say, all you're doing really is increasing the weekly mileage. Yes, you should do more strength work. Yes, you should do more speed work and all these other kind of stuff. But, you know, if you've been doing a half marathon, you've been running 2 to 3 times a week, you're just literally increasing, if you're doing your first one, you're increasing the miles on that long run. And yeah, you can definitely do it. That's probably the main difference, is to keep it simple. Elise Shepherd, what's the highest mileage you will do before the big day and how many times? I've been told no more than 20, but heard between 1 to 6 times. Right, yeah, so this is a funny one. I hear this a lot. Should I do a 20 mile? How many 20 milers should I do? All this sort of stuff. It comes up a lot, especially people who are doing their first marathons. Me personally, this year, don't forget I'm doing 2, so I will do 2 20 milers. There is no evidence to say that doing more than 1 20 miler gives you any benefit. If you do 18 miles, you're absolutely fine. Some of the training plans, they don't do the full 20 miles. There's that, I think it's the Hansen plan. I may be wrong, Alan does it, where he does like 10 and then 16, so they don't even go the full over the 20, or you know, that sort of stuff. So it's quite interesting, all the different variations out there. Me personally, when I'm doing 1 marathon, I do a 120 miler, and then for 2 marathons I'm going to do 2. And the reason I'm doing 2 is because I'm going to run 1 at 1 pace and I'm going to run 1 at another pace, and that's because I'm going for the sub 4. So for me, it's more about training mentally how I can cope with the different paces. That's the only reason I'm doing 2 20 milers. Claire Louise, how close to the big day should you run the longest run? Again, that kind of comes under tapering, and I said we'll get onto that later on in the series. Tapering is a personal thing. General rule of thumb is 3 weeks. Another one from Claire Louise. I've never used gels when running. Which are the best? At what mileage should they be used? And should I begin using them from now? Right, so generally, gels, nutrition, that kind of stuff, we will do a video about it. Rule of thumb, now this is what I do, right? I take a gel. Now my gels are natural, vegan friendly, chai based, right? You can check them out, Human Gels, I've done a review on them. Now I take one of those between 45 to 60 minutes. It depends what I'm doing. If I'm doing a, let's say, stick on marathon, I will take one every 60 minutes. When I'm going for the sub 4, I will be taking one every 45 minutes. The reason that is because I want to load more up with calories, carbohydrates, whatever you want to look at, in the first half of the race. So at the second half of the race, I'm fueled up and there's less likely chance that I'm going to hit the wall. But as a general rule of thumb, between 45 minutes to 60 minutes is when you sort of deplete your stores, and that's when you should be looking to take something on. A gel is a convenient way of getting calories or carbs into your body quickly and easily, but not everybody can tolerate them. With regards to recommending them, obviously I recommend the Humid Gels, and I'm not paid by them at all. It's just what works for me. They are very easy on the stomach because they're chai based, but there's loads out there. I would tend to stick away from the sugary ones where you're just dumping sugar into your stomach, but people work well on those. So it's just a trial and error, and I would 100% encourage you to be trialing them in your long runs. So even if you're doing a 10k, at 10k or whenever, you know, 45 minutes is up, just take a gel or take whatever food that you're going to take and start really putting it into your training now. The earlier you do it, the better you'll get on with it, and then you'll learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Right, Daryl Simpson, what pace should your long runs be at? I've heard that they should be up to 2 minutes per mile slower. I'm trying now going to week 3, but I worry they're too slow. I did a video in this series on pacing. Please check it out. I'm running to my heart rate. I'm keeping my heart rate at a low rate for me when I'm doing my long runs. I did mention it earlier about marathon pace, but I'm basically running quite a bit slower. To give you a clue, if it helps, it's going to be in kilometers, so I apologise. I'm running usually a sort of medium-ish pace races between 5-5:15 per kilometre. long runs, I'm making sure I'm running no faster than 6 minutes per kilometre. So there's like a minute delta in there. And I try and keep that, you know, as best I can until I hit that 25 kilometres, then I'll go into marathon pace. But I'm running them a lot slower. There's a lot of benefit from doing that. Check it out, the book 80 to 20. That's a real insightful book if you want to learn about running at slower pace and all that kind of stuff. So check that one out. It's a top tip actually. But yeah, so yeah, my pacing, I run my long runs a lot slower. I get a lot of benefit from them. I concentrate on my speed in the week. I concentrate on my stamina, you know, hill work and all that sort of stuff in the week. On my long runs, I just focus on getting the miles done. Right, next one's up from Ruth. What strength work should I be doing? Gym classes, home workouts, and how often? It should be built into your plan. You should have, obviously, rest days, really important, but you should also have cross-training days when you're not running, but active workouts. So, like as you say, gym, swimming, all that sort of stuff. You know, it depends on what you're aiming for, what you're going for. If you're going for like a sub 4 hour marathon, then a couple of times a week, definitely, you know, some form of strength training, some form of, you know, like swimming, put something like swimming in there, or Pilates or something like that on top of going to the gym, that kind of stuff, you know, like twice a week. But if you're just doing your first marathon and you just want to finish, you know, you will benefit from sticking in one decent gym session a week. That will help you with your strength training, working on that sort of stuff. And you can speak to a PT and they can tailor a plan for you so you get the most out of your time when you're there. But it is really a very individual thing, depending on what goals you've got. I say, have a look at your plan. If someone's wrote your plan, they should have put that into the plan. If you've just picked a generic one up off the website, then I can understand why you're asking the question. But I say, it depends on your goals. Once or twice is a good amount. Right, next one is from Katie Bennett. What food or drink do you have after your long runs, and when do you have it? What will help my body recover quickest? There's quite a few things you can do. Me personally, I have Active Root. I take Active Root, 500 ml dilution of Active Root as soon as I finish. That hydrates me. It's got all like electrolytes and stuff in it, and it's all natural. It's very easy on the stomach. I make sure I have that, and that does everything I need as soon as I finish my run. I'll then go and have a shower, blah, blah, blah. And then I always have an ice cold bowl of milk with some cereal in it, but not something with loads of sugar on it. You want to try and take something decent on, you know, half hour to an hour max after you've done your long run. Something that will obviously help with regards to repairing your muscles, so protein, that sort of stuff. But for me personally, I do love ice cold milk. I don't know why, but I just love it. I crave it. Have a look at, you can look at some of these shakes, some of these protein shakes. Just be careful of them. Some of them are full of rubbish. Some of the products out there, but yeah, have a look around. But yeah, protein shakes, I used to take a protein shake, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a recovery shake. That worked well for me, but I say I moved to a more natural diet, a natural recovery, and that's why I say I have the Active Root to rehydrate me, and then I have the milk and the cereal, then I have, to say, some protein based meal a little bit later on once my stomach has settled down. Right, next up from Amber. Having used protein shakes and bars, so it follows on nicely, are they an essential part of the training? I've always been eating healthy with a balanced diet, but now thinking I should be taking up all a little extra supplement. Yeah, I mean, protein shakes, stuff like that, all help recovery, right? You can source it from your diet. So me personally, like I said to you, I moved away from those shakes because I wanted to get it from natural sources. That's just me personally. But they are good, they do work. Some work for some people, some work for others. But yeah, it's what it is. It's whatever works for you. Find something that works for you. Should you be adding them in, you should be looking to add stuff into your diet that's going to help you recover and give you more energy. And you can source that from natural foods. So if you can get that from natural foods, great. If you can't, and it's from stuff that you can't tolerate, then look for other sources. That's probably the best recommendation. Right, last one, because I've got to go back in. A site, and this is from Kim, and this is a little bit less related to actual marathon training, but it's more of a motivational one. Kim, aside from the fact that you're running a marathon for charity, which I think most of us probably are, what else motivates you to get out and stick to your training plan? I'm not running for a charity this year, and I'm curious to know. Kim, thanks a lot. You probably know by now that I don't have any motivational problems, but I do have moments during my training plan where I think, you know what, I can't be bothered to do this. But what motivates me is being in that plan. and I struggle when I'm not in the plan, if that makes any sense. So yes, I'm running for a charity, but this might sound big-headed, but I do a lot of work for charity anyway, so I'm always motivated to help charities. For me, it's the end goal of achieving what I want to achieve. I want to do 2 marathons in spring. I want to do a sub 4, and that keeps me motivated. And if I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking I can't be bothered to get up and go and run this 26 kilometers, which is a natural thing to think of, I know that I'm cheating myself, and if I don't do that distance, I'm never going to be able to accomplish my goals. So it's just keeping in mind your end goal, but not focusing on it too much. More focus on the sort of the here and the now, what you can control. So I can control whether I go out and do that 26 kilometers. So that is my mission, is to get that done. So motivating myself to get that done will then lead me on to my next run, which I'll then get motivated to do that. I hope that makes sense. So it's like I say, I kind of bounce from one run to the next, and that sort of keeps me motivated. So I'm always, you know, it's like you finish a run, you think, right, I can't wait to go out and run again. So you're kind of just keep, you're like that hamster on that wheel, you know, you keep going. As soon as you get off of it, it's very hard to get back on it. So that's what keeps me motivated, is just keeping running, if that makes any sense, Kim. I hope it does. I know I've waffled on a bit, but yeah, the charity element, definitely, and the difference that we will make, definitely. But as I said, I'm deep into that anyway. So for me, apart from the mental health side of it, keeping motivated is literally just staying on that wheel, and just the more you're on it, the more you're involved in it, the deeper you get into it, and the more you're pushing around that wheel, the easier it will become. Well, I think that's it. Sorry if I didn't answer all the questions. I'm tight on time. As I say, this week's been a bit mental. And apologies for this video going on for about 300 days. But I wanted to get through some of those questions. Right. So that's it. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Again, big shout out to everybody in the Fordy Runs running community who asked questions. So, like I say, I will get on to some more. I think we'll do another session real soon in this series. Right, so training over this Christmas period. Obviously, you saw last week's video, I've been sick. But this week, I've got a bit of a condensed week because I've got a coaching course on Saturday, Sunday this week. So I'm trying to cram in all my miles this week. So this week, just the usual 5 runs, nothing major. I'm up now to about 16 miles on my long run, which is where I want to be, because I'm going up like this, then down like this, then up again. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to put a bit of distance in my legs early doors. Chasing the sub 4. I'm concentrating on speed, but for me, it's all up here. So that's why I'm working on early on my mental attitude. So that's the training. I've been doing all right. I've got a few aches and pains already, but we'll just manage them. But yeah, that's it, guys. Let me know in the comments how your training's going. Look forward to hearing it. Happy New Year. Well done for sticking around for this long to the end of the video. I'll catch you guys next week.